The Toronto Maple Leafs make a huge move to try to shake up their bottom six, as well as we have numerous reports saying that the Edmonton Oilers are looking for a trade. We'll break all this down for you coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into that, we just want to say that 78% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you're looking for a place for daily NHL, daily Leafs content, look no further. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, become a part of the community because me and Mark will be here all season long, keeping you up to date on what's happening around the league. But with that said, let's get right into the first topic here, and that is Robertson gets the call. And obviously, if you've been watching this channel for a while, this is a guy who me and Mark have expected to kind of make the jump to the NHL, and that's what we're seeing here today from Mark Masters. Leafs recall Nick Robertson, who has 5 goals and 11 points in 9 AHL games this season. Holmberg was sent back down to the Marlies to kind of replace so that Nick Robertson could move up. And we also see here that if Nick Robertson takes Pontus Holmberg's spot from practice yesterday, the lines would be looking like Robertson, Domi, and Yarncroke. And Mark, I really do think this is what the Toronto Maple Leafs need right now. They need a young guy who can just come up and just kind of try to go off here in the NHL, try to get some offense flowing through this bottom six. I think this is a really smart move from the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. I'm really excited to see what Nick Robertson can do.
Yeah, I talked about it a bit in the video yesterday because currently, well, before this, we were seeing Kemp, Domi, and Yarncroke. I wasn't a big fan of this. I thought there wasn't a lot of offense. I'm sure a lot of fans seen there wasn't a lot of offense. So I do really like this sense of putting Domi in the middle. We've seen him play center before. This is something he can do, and it's not unnatural to him. You bring a guy like Robertson up that has a lethal shot. I keep bringing up that Matthews did say at one point that Nick Robertson had the hardest shot on the teams, and that's coming from a man that scored 60 goals. And you put a guy like Yarncroke who has scored 20 goals before. So I think this is really nice where you rejuvenate this third line. You get more scoring with a guy like Robertson. You still have Domi and its playmaking. And Yarncroke is still a guy there to be just responsible in defense. So overall, I'm just a huge fan of this line. Kampf gets the slide back down to the fourth line center. It adds a lot of much needed defense on this line as well. And I think this is a boost to the Leafs bottom six that they've kind of been struggling and looking for.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the right move. I think Nick Robertson is a young kid who has a fire in him to kind of solidify himself as an NHLer, and I really do think that this will see him, just kind of go off here in Toronto over these next few games. I think this is a great move. And like you said with Max Domi, everybody here knows that I'm a big Max Domi fan, and I really do think sliding this guy back to center will kind of light a fire under him as well. I think this is a guy who can drive a line, and I really am excited for this third line. Like you said, Yarncroke is a great player as well, a great goal scorer. So if you have two good goal scorers with a playmaker like Domi, I think this line is just destined for success.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like we covered in the video yesterday, with the Leafs bottom six, they had a combine of 2 goals, 5-on-5. So bringing a guy up like Nick Robertson that can score, a guy like Yarncroke who has scored 20 before, and a guy like Domi who's not the greatest goal scorer, but he's a guy that's going to play make, and he can still pot you 10, 15, maybe 20 goals. This is just a big boost to the bottom six. We've seen the top end do all their things. We've seen them been productive. Matthews has 11 goals in 11 games. Nylander set a franchise record for the longest point streak to start a season. So overall, just having this bottom six work things out and finally get back to where they should be is just the massive thing the Leafs almost need to propel them to looking for the President's Trophy in the top of the Atlantic.
Yeah, I know I've seen a lot of comments on those last couple of videos. Some fans are really frustrated about how this season has started, but the thing is you got to remember is this is basically a brand new team down through the bottom six. These guys just need time to get chemistry and work everything out, and I really do think that we'll see success come in the next couple of weeks, and I really do think that this third line is going to start it all. I'm really excited to see what this line can do tonight against Tampa, so make sure to check it out because this is going to be a great game tonight. I think they're going to have a nice bounce back win here tonight if you ask me, but we're going to get into our second topic of the video here, and that is Oilers looking for a shakeup. And as we take a look here, sources told the Hockey News that Ken Holland has been checking in on teams in search of a goalie. He's been working the phones for over a week now, and that's all the information that they have. It's in the Oilers' best interest for Holland to perform his due diligence by checking in with other teams to see what's available. And Mark, obviously we've talked about this before, that the Oilers are kind of off to a rough start. Not everybody expected this to happen. Obviously, McDavid went down there for about a week, I think it was. And this team is starting to get their groove back a little bit, starting to get their mojo back. But I really do think a shakeup is in order.
Yeah, that's the big thing. When you kind of look at this, the Oilers are struggling in a lot of senses of not having a guy like Connor McDavid in the lineup right now. The goalies have been a massive struggle, and the defense hasn't really clicked. We're seeing a similar thing in Toronto, but where the goalies have kind of stepped up in a guy like Joseph Woll. So when you have all three aspects of your games kind of struggling, the team's not going to produce, even with the best player in the world, a guy that's a top 10 behind him in Draisaitl as well. So it's a thing the Oilers do need to make a shakeup. They're going to be a contender. They're a team that can't waste away the years of a guy like Draisaitl McDavid for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And one guy that we've seen here that could potentially head to Edmonton is Dan Vladar. And Dan Vladar, obviously, if you're an Edmonton fan, he is the backup for the Calgary Flames, your rival team right now. And as we take a look, obviously, he was involved in trade rumors earlier in the season, but the Flames have a budding goaltender prospect in Dustin Wolf, seemingly ready to make the leap to the NHL. And as we take a look at Vladar's stats here, through this season, he is 2-1 with an 8.44, and last year he was 6-5 with an 8.95. I really do think this guy's a great goaltender, a guy who could step up and maybe take a starter role. It's just, I mean, Calgary is kind of struggling in the same sense that Edmonton is right now, and I think a shakeup for both teams could be great for both each side.
Yeah, the big thing with Vladar, I think this would be more of a thing of you have Jeff Skinner, you want to ride him as you start to bring Vladar as a backup. The only issue with acquiring Vladar is you would have to send something back to the Flames. Obviously, the big thing here is they'd probably want to maybe ship out a guy like Jack Campbell, but he's currently on a $5 million deal that I think is this year and 3 years after. So the Flames taking on this type of contract when they probably just want to retool is a bit of a situation. Obviously, getting a guy like Vidar, you could probably reach out and maybe ask for a defenseman, a forward, depending on what Calgary's doing in the sense of they're rebuilding, retooling, or just want to shake things up. So I think Vidar would be an awesome backup for the Oilers. It's just hard to figure out a trade in the sense of what they give up to make the cap work.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely seen some things on this saying that they may be a three-way trade here where they might move Stort Skinner and just to kind of sort out the cap situation. But I do really think this is a really great goaltender. So it's unfortunate that the Calgary has a great prospect in Dustin Wolf. Kind of like I'm expecting him to make the jump to the NHL like Joseph Woll did. I really do think this guy's going to be a great goaltender in the NHL. It's just I think Calgary needs to move on from Vladar right now and try to get him a home where he can potentially start some games. But we do also have another guy here who we could potentially see traded to the Oilers, and that is Capo Kakkonen, or Kakkonen, sorry. And this guy is obviously in Chicago, in San Jose right now. Sorry, but Blackwood has solidified himself as the starter there, and Capo Kakko seems like a logical target for the Oilers. A former Minnesota Wild draft pick, Kakkonen, sorry, is in the final year of his contract with a $2.75 million cap hit. And Mark, this is a guy who I was really high on when he was in Minnesota. I think he was a great goaltender there, and I really do think. I mean, he's stuck in the backup role right now because Blackwood's playing unreal. It's just unfortunate that San Jose isn't the team that they were expected to be, or aren't performing as anyone expected to be right now. And I really do think, like the Calgary Flames, this team could use a shakeup as well as the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, the big thing with the Sharks right now, they're off to probably one of the worst franchise starts they've ever had. The big thing with this is the forwards can't score, the goalies can't really make saves. The defense has been a bad situation pretty much all around. The team needs to kind of go into this big rebuild and just kind of buy into this rebuild. If you pull up Kalkinen's stats, though, currently with the team, he is playing fine. The big thing with this is, like I said, the defense hasn't been great. Right now, he is getting paid $2.7 million per year. It's a 1 year deal. He's 27 years old. He has an 8.79 save percentage, 6-1. The big thing with this is the Sharks overall haven't been performing. This is a guy just in 2019, he won 22 games, lost 14, and a 915 save percentage. The big thing with this too is the 2.7. If you eat half of that when he's getting traded, it wouldn't be as bad. And you could honestly package a deal maybe around Duclair and Hoffman. So maybe get Kokkonen and Hoffman at 2.25, or a guy like Duclair at 1.5. if you just take the stats away too, the big thing is with this as well is you'd have to give up a lot. If you looked at Peter Mrazek going from Toronto to Chicago, the Leafs had to move a first round pick. They did get a second back, but this was a 1 year deal. So if you're moving Campbell on this and there's 4 years left on his contract at 5 million, this would almost be a bigger package, maybe a first, a prospect, a couple prospects, honestly, maybe a couple picks and another guy to make cap work. But I think the Oilers should prioritize maybe Kotkinen and Duclair as a former 30-goal scorer, just to kind of bolster this middle six for the Oilers.
Yeah, definitely. I really do think that we would see Soup be kind of involved in this trade. And like you said, they'd had to make the cap work. But right now, San Jose is a team who could kind of eat some cap and try to, tank for the next, star in the league. Because right now, the team's kind of in a hurting situation. And I think both teams kind of need a shake-up. And I think Kakkonen's a great goaltender to kind of step in to the limelight in Edmonton and just take control of this organization in net. And I really do think that this guy's a great goaltender. I really hope we get to see this trade. I'm really high on this guy. Like you said, he won 22 games there just a couple years ago, and he was great in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure he stepped in when Fleury went down with an injury. If I correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I really do think that this guy is a starting goaltender. I don't think he deserves to be a backup. I really think this guy could step up on any team and just have a solid year. And I really do think, like you said, Duclair is a good guy who you could get back in this trade as well. Like you said, a guy who could bolster their middle six, kind of get them some more goal scoring from their bottom to middle six, and as well as Mike Hoffman. Obviously, he was a former Montreal Canadian. He was a great player in Montreal, and I'm sure he's playing great right now in San Jose. And I really do think this is a guy you could potentially see come back in terms of just the cap relief in with this trade. It's just going to be interesting to see what unfolds here in Edmonton over the next couple of weeks, because they really do need something to change. I really do think they need something to shake up in their lineup, whether it's a goaltender, whether it's adding a couple defensemen or something, to kind of get them back on track and back to the team we know that they can be. And I really do think we'll see this team in the playoff hunt by the end of the season. We'll just have to see what they do to get there, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that's going to happen here in Edmonton. It's going to be an interesting few weeks for if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan. But we're going to get into everybody's favorite topic here, and that is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to Curtis. He says, "Good stream, new sub." Shout out to you, Curtis. Thanks for your support. We really appreciate seeing all you new subscribers down in the comment section, interacting with everybody here in the community. We really appreciate it. But if you enjoyed the NHL, make sure to check this video that's popping up on your screen right now. Make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers. We're getting pretty close, so we really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. But I've been KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.